This is the personal knowledge infrastructure system. I built it because I've been working in my industry for over 30 years and I have documents and notes scattered all over the place, all over the internet, all over all my computers, etc. And I needed an easier way to be able to find things. And also, I don't want to keep asking Google or AI or anything like that the same question over again just because I can't find, what the answer was, say, a week ago or last year or even. So, anyways, this is what I'm building. It runs on computers, you know, uh, Mac, PC, Linux, and also on mobile devices, iOS and Android. And it also has command line. Um, but anyways, for most people that don't want to be getting into the heavy technical stuff and just want to use it, I wanted to show a quick screen share. So we have a search. You can search all your knowledge, and all this knowledge comes from um, importing all of my documents, text documents, PDF, Markdown files, you name it, even a zip file from, say, ChatGPT. I can zip all of my chats that I've ever had with ChatGPT for the last, couple of years. It will give it to me as a zip file, and then I can import that into my local environment. So this is all installed on my laptop. It does not touch the internet unless I want to go looking for help. But all of my knowledge is local on my laptop. And I can run it that way, and I'm not required to use the cloud. There's no, per usage costs are gone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide it as a one-time fee for each version. And I'll probably do, because technology changes, I'll probably do a major version update once a year. That sounds reasonable to me. And that way, we're avoiding all those monthly costs and subscriptions and stuff. So anyways, back to this. So we got the search feature. You can search all of your data, your knowledge, your documents. You can ask questions about your data and your knowledge. You can create a new piece of data, whether it be knowledge archive or library, title it whatever. Like in my case, I work in tech industry, so a lot of my content, I'll show you here, is like this is a chat I just had with GPT recently about how can I reduce my data center usage, my dependency on data centers, because that's an important topic to me and a lot of people in my community and even in the industry. We don't want to be boiling the ocean, especially when it's something like a question I already asked, say, like I said before last week. Why repeat the same question, repeat the same answer when I can just quickly access it right here in my own personal knowledge infrastructure system? So then over here we have inbox, or import, and this is where you can import into either an archive, library, or knowledge. You can drop a zip file, a JSON file, PDF, Markdown files, RTF, text, CSV files. You can even just paste text in here and import it into this system. And so the next one is snapshot. And what a snapshot does is it does version control for the whole system. So I just committed a snapshot of my whole system right here. And where I set that up is I go here underneath it to versioning. And this is where I can, make sure that I've enabled it. And then I have snapshots so I can restore my entire knowledge base to, say, a certain point in time. And that's the other thing when you're, brings me back to importing, you can overwrite, like say if, so it's right here, overwrite existing data, replace it in place. You can choose that, or you can choose where you don't replace the current data that's in your knowledge base, which is what I do. I generally don't replace data, but it does have in place where it's going to do, it's called deduplication. So I'm not going to have the same exact document in here like 5 times because you don't want that. That would take up a lot of space and be not a good idea. Okay, re-index, you can re-index everything, which I'll get into another day. Settings, this is where the local AI, because I do use a local model. that doesn't cost me anything. It's installed locally to my device. And I use things like Ollama or even LM Studio so that I can install and test out and experiment with all kinds of, different models, large language models, small language models, whatever my system can handle, because everyone's computer is a little bit different. And then the only thing that we have that goes online is the help. And I'm in the process of building this out, but it goes right to a web page where there's going to be, information to, help you out. Let's go back to this. Okay. So this was a previous chat. I'm going to get out of here. So we went through all of these. So, and this is for the search. We also have a semantic search, which you can do, and you can sort it, things like that. We can look at all of my data, which is right now I have 2,193 pieces of data or pieces of knowledge in my system. I can look through only the archive. I can look through my library, because sometimes some of my data I might commit it right to a library, and others I might commit it right to the knowledge base, which is a knowledge graph. I'll get into that another day too. And then here, this just tells us that we're running live. I have 2,193 artifacts, which are documents in this case. We have 5 chunks and 5 vectors. And I won't get into that too much. There's just a little bit of, I'm putting a little bit of data for more advanced users, software engineers, more technical, because they will, they need to know this information, like SQLite. But I'm making it so that it's also intuitive and non-technical. Like if you're not an engineer, you can still use this, you can still understand what's going on, you can still find all your data. So this is just part 1 of different things I'm coming up with to help me, number 1, track my data usage and my reliance on data centers, and then make better choices, so that I'm not boiling the ocean. And because I prefer to, I'm not going to complain about anything, nothing like that. And I don't blame others. What I prefer to do is look at my own situation. What are my choices that I'm making, and how is that impacting the world and the environment and my company and my family? And this is one answer to that. All right, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please do reach out. I love talking shop. I love talking about and figuring out how to solve real world problems, especially scary, challenging ones that are really complex. Things like how each of us are so dependent on data centers, but yet none of us want to be destroying the planet. None of us want to do that, but yet we're all depending on data centers to live our lives. So even the people that don't even realize are doing that. So hopefully this is a good solution for that. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.